Hello class, welcome to Module 5. I'm going to give you hopefully some good suggestions to get you started on the work this week. We're going to continue with the CRUD operations from last week. As you know, last week we did the create and read portions only. Now we're going to implement um, methods for update and delete, and we're going to test those, and then we're going to move into making a dashboard. Now they gave you some example, some starter code for the dashboard. So I would when you get, we'll do that in a minute, but basically you need to go here to this file upload, this little cloud with the up arrow on it, and point to wherever you downloaded that from the assignment, probably downloads, and I think it was Module 5 assignment IPYNB. So just take that and upload it. Now it's going to put it on your desktop on the Linux box, so then you'll want to go here to the files, and find it on the desktop, copy it into wherever you're saving your work. I have a Module 5 folder, a Module 4 folder, and then you would just paste it in right here. Now I've already done that, so I'm not going to paste it again. And also I went ahead and renamed it to CRUD underscore dashboard notebook. So we'll get to that in a moment. Let's go ahead first and implement the rest of our CRUD and test it. So we tested create and read last week. So now, and by the way, this is, I'm using RStudio, and this file is in my Module 5 folder under my CS340 project folder. So I've already implemented these. I'll show you how I did it, and you're welcome to do it the same. So we need a new method for update, and it's just going to take a query, sort of like MyAnimal. You probably did something like that last week. And then it's going to take a new data, and you'll see what this works out to when we test it later. But it's basically a set of key value pairs representing the attributes within a document that you want to change. So it could be one key value pair, or it could be several comma separated key value pairs if you wanted to update several attributes in the same document. And now your query is what's going to define whether or not you're updating a single document or multiple documents. And so we're going to use update many here, because if you update a single document, this will still work, and if you update multiples, it will work. So for any documents netted by your query, it's going to set the key value pairs defined in your new data. And then we're going to return the modified count of the result. And we're going to put all this in try-catch like we did last week, because we don't want any unhandled exceptions. And so if there is an exception, it will print out the details and return a 0 on the assumption that we didn't update anything. So that would be your update count, and then you would see the error message. And chances are, it's something that was passed in that was bad, because this, for any valid input, this should work. Now, we have the delete method, a little bit simpler. You just need to pass in a query, such as my animal, and then we're going to delete many, because we don't know if your query is intended for one document or many. So if it is only one document, this will still work, and if it's many, it'll work. So we're gonna get the result of that collection, delete many query, just like we had the find query before. And then we're going to return the deleted count from the result, and we're going to catch and display the exception if there is one. And then instead of a deleted count, we'll return a 0 then. So that's it for your CRUD operations for this week. Now let's go and test this. Now this is the same notebook I had last week. I just added some tests for the update and delete. So let's just start here, where we first get an instance of the Animal Shelter CRUD class, and we're going to call it CRUD. So CRUD is the instance, actually. This is just an import. So we're going to get an instance of the Animal Shelter CRUD class, passing in all the connection parameters, and we're going to call it CRUD. And then we got some data to insert result, all of that. So let's run this. Same thing we did last week. Okay, so that's our insert operation. And now we're going to define my animal. We're going to use the create method to insert my animal. We did that. It returned true. And we're going to read it. That returned the data. And now, excuse me, we're going to update it. We're going to change age upon outcome 1 year to 5 years. And we got an updated count of 1 returned. So now, before we can query this again to see our modified data, we're going to have to change our query, because if we pass in the old definition of my animal with 1 year here, it's going to come back empty. In fact, let's do that. Now we're going to read my animal, and it's going to come back empty. Okay, it should have. I've been hitting this pretty hard, so I probably have several in there. Now let's delete my animal. It deleted 18. So I told you I've been hitting it pretty hard. Now, if we go back here and read my animal again, now it's going to come back empty. So let's go back to the top. My animal. And we're going to create it. so that this time we only have the 1. And now we're going to read it. It returns the 1. And now we're going to update it. That was successful according to the updated count. And now we're going to define it again as the same thing we had before. And now we're going to read it, and it's still coming up empty. Now we know it was created, and we know we modified it. So let's do this. Let's change this to 5 years because it needs to match what our new data says. And now let's read it. And here it is, 5 years. So our update works. We know our delete works because we tested it a minute ago, but let's go ahead and do it. And it updated 2. Interesting. So try reading it again. It isn't there, so our update worked. So our CRUD is good. So now let's go ahead and take a look at the dashboard. Now the fun part. Okay, as I mentioned, I imported, I uploaded from my home computer to the lab here the starter code for assignment 5. So let's open that. This is the CRUD we were just editing and testing. Here it is, CRUD dashboard. This is a Jupyter notebook. So this is what they gave you to get started. Of course, I've been through it already, but this is the original untouched. So let's run this. And now it says the Dash app is running on this URL here. So let's take a look. So it's got a submit button. It has a placeholder for a username and password. Wrong keyboard. Wrong mouse. AAC user. Excuse me. And it doesn't do anything. So that's our task. Now, you probably noticed when I typed in the password, it was masked, and that it says here, this input statement sets up an input field for the password. The password designation masks the user input on the screen. So. So we have an input for username, input for password, then we have the button, and we have a line that separates it from the inputs from the outputs. And now we have to do some work here. Now the first thing we can do is test to see that when we do click the button, something is actually happening. Now what this should do is just display what we typed in for username and password. And there it is. Output AAC user SNHU1234. So now let's go ahead and put some meat into this. So we'll comment this back out because you only want one return statement. To do instantiate CRUD object. Okay, to do. There's another to do up here. Import your CRUD module. So that's going to be just like we did it in the notebook last week. Import animal shelter CRUD from the file AAC CRUD. So then we come down here and we have to instantiate an instance of animal shelter CRUD. See, we need some additional, as you know, we've got not only username and password, but we've got host, port, database name, and collection name. So let's go ahead and do that. So we want host. This is going to be, of course, the same thing we had last week. Port, this is going to be different for each of you, I imagine. 31230 is mine. AC. Collection equals animals. Okay, that will allow us to create an instance of the object. So we're going to call it data layer. need to pass in all of that just like you did last time. And now we need to just exercise, test our CRUD, basically the same way we did in the notebook. So I'm going to go ahead and bring in some stuff from the notebook. Okay, just to save ourselves some time, I'm going to go ahead and define my animal and revised animal. And indentation is very important in Python. And initially it's going to be 1 year, excuse me, and then we're going to revise it to 2. Now let's go ahead and define our new data in preparation for when we test the update. Let's do one first. Let's see. Let's just make sure we can create my animal. You know, just to keep things clean, remember how we would run and rerun the create on my animal, and then by the time we ran our delete statement, we had multiples. So let's go ahead and test create and delete initially. So I'm going to say C result equals data layer. Remember, data layer is now referring to your AAC CRUD, your animal shelter CRUD class inside your AAC CRUD file. So data layer has a create method, and we're going to send it my animal, which, as you recall, has 1 year as the age. And then we need to format each of these results so that they are strings. And if it's a list, we have to spin through it and separate each string out. You'll see in a minute on the read. And we'll label this create result plus string. It's just a string function wrapper around this C results, which is going to be an integer, I believe. Well, actually, it's going to be a Boolean. It's going to come back true that it did the create. And now let's test the delete. And this is going to come back with an integer, a count, so we're going to have to change that into a string. And since we're dealing with a string, we can go ahead and label it. And now we want to output all of this. Remember, you only want one return statement. So we want to run all of these tests, get the results formatted properly, and then output them. So here we go. So we're going to make a list of results. And we're going to join those on a with a couple of line feeds in between each one. I'll show you how to do that. You're probably familiar with Python, but just in case. Okay, let's see what could possibly go wrong. Okay, we're running. Let's open it up. AC user HU. Oh, callback error. What's wrong? C result is not defined. Okay. You see what I did? I put 2 underscores in there. And even with my eye vision, I could see that, so that's very good. That's the kind of thing you could search for a long time. And here we go. Create result true, delete result 0. Okay, now what does that tell us? It seems to be telling us that it created my animal, but it didn't delete it. So let's see what's going on. Because I don't see any error message. But would we need to pipe that up? Oh, look what I did. I deleted revised animal. Okay, let's test it again. This should be it. Then we can move on, do the read and the update, and then we'll be done. Now it's working. It created one. It created the my animal, which we know was one document, and it deleted one document. So that's good. Okay. So now, in between create and delete, we want to do a read, and we want to do an update, and probably another read. So that was C result for the create, D result for the delete. So this is going to be R result for the read. So we're going to read my animal, format the results. This one is a little more work because it's returning a list. So we're going to join we're going to do a for loop for everything in the list. We're going to look for each result in our result, and we're going to wrap that in a string function. So join str result for result in our result. It's really not as bad as it could be. And then we're going to label it. So we're just going to prepend the label read results, and then we're going to give it a line feed, and then we're going to show all of the strings returned. So now let's go ahead. Remember, we've got a set here, so we want to put formatted R result into our set here, into the return set, so that it too will be outputted. So let's go ahead and test this. Invalid syntax. Equals. Okay, so now we have create result true, read result, it returned my animal, and then delete result 1. So it created it, read it, displayed it, and deleted it. So now we're ready to test our update. And if you recall, we've already predefined a revised animal for the follow-up read, and we've also predefined some new data. So we're gonna, when we update, we're gonna send in my animal for the query. So it's gonna find this record, and it's gonna set age upon outcome to 5 years. Remember, right now it's 1 year. So let's see if that really happens. Okay, view result equals data layer read. Nope, it's not a read. Data layer update my animal with new data. Formatted u result equals update result, and this is going to be an integer value describing how many documents were updated. So now we're going to put formatted u result and now let's go ahead and read that. And by the way, now we will want to change this to revised. That's why I still had it sitting on revised from when I did this before. Because my animal, as originally defined, will no longer be in the database because we've changed it to match our revised animal. So update follow-up read UR result equals data layer read revised animal. Not much really to do here. Most of the work here is formatting the output. And let's just copy this down here to save ourselves some time. Formatted UR in UR result. And then we want to label it, add some labeling, so we can copy this as well. Remember, indentation is vitally important here. If it's off, anything at all, it's not gonna compile. So this is post update read result. Okay, we should now have a good test for everything. We're going to create an animal, we're going to read it and display it, we're going to update it, we're going to read again with a query reflecting what the new data should look like, and we're going to see if we get that back, and then we're going to go ahead and delete my animal, but it's going to be the revised animal now because we've updated it. And then and we need to put everything we want to display needs to be in this return set. Oh, now what's going on? Formatted. Okay. Let's see what we get. And here we are. Create true, read result. That's our original MyAnimal 1 year. Update result 1, post update read results 5 years, and delete result 1. So that's CRUD, C-R-U-D. That's it. We've got a dashboard. Let's go ahead and we can, I don't know if you noticed that there's a spelling error here, and of course your name would be here. Let's go ahead and tidy that up a little bit, and then I'll let you go. So you just would do that up here. Where is that? Here it is. So way up top in the layout, assignment, and that's it. So hopefully that'll get you started. We can take another look at this. Remember, we just they gave us a pretty good start here, and the first thing we did before we added any of our own code was we commented, uncommented this return just to see that we had typed in the right username and password. And remember too, you only want one return statement. So next we realized, okay, in addition to username and password, we need some additional information to make that connection. So we defined our host, our port, the database name and the collection name. And we passed all of that in to Animal Shelter CRUD. And remember, up at the very top, the very first thing we did was we from AAC CRUD import Animal Shelter CRUD. You have to do that. Then you can create an instance of this class called data layer. That's what I named it. You're welcome to make up something else, but that's really what we're testing, a data layer. We're in the presentation layer, testing the data layer. And the data layer in turn is testing the database connections and such. So then we predefined a query. We predefined an animal that we're going to use. We're going to send it in to the create statement, and we're also going to send it into the read statement as a query, so that we make sure to get back just the record that we created. And then we went ahead and predefined a revised animal to match on this key value pair. Age upon update 5 years is going to match our new data, age upon update 5 years, that we're going to send in along with the original MyAnimal. We're going to send both of those into the update statement. Update method. And then it's going to it's going to revise this record. So this is going to become 5 years. So sending this in to a read query or a delete query at that point wouldn't net anything, because this record does not exist anymore. This one would exist now. So for post-update read, we're going to use this, and for our final delete, we're going to pass this in. And then remember, you get these results pretty much the same way you were doing it over in the notebook when we were testing these methods. But then the additional work here, so that you can display it, is to format the results. It has to be a string, and then we're just going a step further and labeling it so that we can see exactly what we have. So our create result, that should return a true, a Boolean. So we're going to turn it into a string so that we can concatenate it or append it to this label. And then the same thing for the read. Now the read returns a list, so we're going to have to iterate through the list with a for each loop, and for each result in the set of results, in the list of results, we're going to wrap that in a string method. And we're going to put all of that in here, and then we're going to add, prepend a label to that with a line feed in between. Then we're going to test our update. We're going to pass in, as I said, the original MyAnimal as a query, and then we're going to pass in the new data key value pair so that we update that record so that it's now going to match this revised query that we predefined. So we're going to, after we, and we're going to, of course, format this. Now this is going to come back as an integer, the number of documents that were updated. So we need to just wrap that in a string, prepend a label, and then finally we're going to do another read. It's going to be just like this read, only it's going to be going into a different, we want to call it UR result for update read. I guess I could have called it PUR for post update read, but I don't want to go back and change it. But you could do that just so it's more obvious what we're doing. So we're going to format that the same way as we did the original read. Finally, we're going to call delete. It's going to return an integer as well, number documents deleted. So we're going to wrap that in a string, prepend a label, and then very importantly, remember only one return statement. So we want to show ourselves all of this so we can see everything that happened. And so we want to put all of these formatted results into an array or a list. And just open up those square brackets and put a comma separated list of all of your formatted results in the order you want them displayed, which should be the order in which they were executed. And then join everything in this return set with a couple of line feeds in between. And let's see one more time what that looks like. And here are the results. You got line feeds in between, everything's readable. So that should do it for this week. Next week we'll enhance our dashboard. Thank you. Have a good week.